Hello you plonkers and welcome back today to another video on the Druzy channel. We're back talking about football, baby, in my room in Manchester on the other side of the world. Finals predictions are like arseholes. Everybody has one and they're all different in their own special way. I always say these videos are predictions before words. So you don't know if I'm right or you're right until everything's done, until the grand final is done. So comment down below your predictions, get them in there, and then we'll see who's right at the end. But until then, you cannot call me a mug. Before we get into my finals predictions, I just wanted to say that I will be living in Australia again next year for those people that watch my content. Most probably in Melbourne, living right in the heart of footy and making the best content I can. So exciting times for the channel next year. I haven't died. I am alive and well, living my best life traveling Europe. But next year I will be back smashing out content bigger and better than ever, baby. And the last thing before we get into the video is if you're a footballer that's needing pre-season programming to make 2024 your best year yet, Druzy's Athlete Academy is all you need to springboard yourself into a massive 2024. I've worked at the waffle level. I've worked with state academy athletes who are now playing in the AFL. I've got gold standard methods that I've applied to these athletes during pre-season, which has launched them into massive years leading up to their draft, or just players wanting to elevate their game in general. As a qualified strength and conditioning coach, I can improve your strength and fitness in a matter of months to launch you into a massive season next year. I'll guide and mentor you through your pre-season to make sure you reach your maximum potential in 2024. If this is something that you're interested in, head to my Instagram account, druzy.athleteacademy, and send me a DM saying AFL pre-season to get started on working towards your best season of football yet. From your football to the football that you watch, the AFL Finals Predictions 2023, baby, let's get into it. Yeah. Alrighty. So obviously in previous years, I've followed the AFL very closely. This year, not so much. I've kept up with the results and watched highlights and stuff like that, but different time zones, other side of the world, you get me. So this could be a case of the less you know, the better. You know, sometimes you know too much and it comes back to bite you on the ass. So let's start off with the first qualifying final. We've got Melbourne versus Collingwood. Collingwood's home game. Does it make a difference? Maybe. Collingwood's form recently has been putrid. And I feel like Melbourne is sort of, I don't know, they're right about where they need to be. They need to figure out how to kick more snags. But I think they're more defensively sound than the Pies are. But does being defensively sound stop Collingwood's chaos footy that they play? This is the thing. Finals football is so much different. They get a week off to reset. I'm leaning towards Melbourne though, just based on form. Collingwood haven't been great recently. I'm going to back Melbourne in the first qualifying final. The thing is, all year I've been backing Collingwood to win the flag. I love watching Collingwood. I want them to win the flag this year. But it's just come at a bad time for them to go into bad form. So, sorry Collingwood fans. Carlton versus Sydney at the G. Carlton are in red hot form. Sydney, they haven't been their best this year by any stretch of the imagination. This is the 5th versus 8th game. I reckon Carlton are red hot right now. They're playing at the MCG. Their fans are up and about. I reckon Carlton go through to play Collingwood in the semi-final. That would be massive. Then we've got St Kilda versus GWS. This is the least exciting game of the final series. GWS, for me, from what I've seen, they seem like more of a threatening side, more of a finals-ready side. I haven't seen enough of St Kilda this year to back them in. And I'm not really a massive fan of St Kilda either. So I'm going to let my personal bias and absolutely awful footballing knowledge of the 2023 season take over here. And I'm just going to back GWS to get the win away. They have more finals experience than St Kilda. I'm going to back them. Then we've got Brisbane versus Port Adelaide at the Gabba. I feel like I've seen this fixture a million times and Port Adelaide can just never get over the top of Brisbane at the Gabba in particular. I think Brisbane are the strongest side right now, in my opinion. I think they are ready to go to that next stage and get to that grand final and potentially win it. For that reason, I'm going to back Brisbane to win and go straight to the prelim. Right, Collingwood versus Carlton at the MCG. This would have to be probably the biggest game, aside from grand finals, in living memory for me. God, it would be massive. Do Carlton go over the top of them again? They broke the voodoo a few weeks ago. Can they do it again? Or do Collingwood come out firing with a point to prove? Do Collingwood go out in straight sets? Oh, this is tough. Oh, this is so tricky because Collingwood are getting Darcy Moore and Dacos back, I believe, in time. So will they struggle against Carlton? They've been struggling recently. And when you think of Melbourne last year, they went into finals in such bad form and they got eliminated in straight sets. Do I see Carlton getting to a prelim? Oh, God, I would hate to see it. This is very difficult. I've had Collingwood as my number one ranked team all year. Carlton probably come into it in better form. But having said that, Collingwood pumped Essendon last week, so that would give them some confidence. Dacos back, more back. Do Collingwood go out in straight sets? They usually have the Kosh over Carlton. I'm going to go Collingwood. I can't put them out in straight sets, and I can't put Carlton through to a prelim. Port Adelaide have looked really good at home this year again. They've made the Adelaide Oval a fortress again. They're the higher-ranked side, having finished top 4. They move the ball so well. Really love watching Zach Butters this year. What a star he is. I'm going to go Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide make it to a prelim. So we've got Melbourne versus Port Adelaide, and we have Brisbane versus Collingwood. All the top 4 teams. I could see Carlton sneaking through there, to be honest, but I couldn't put Collingwood out in straight sets. So let's talk about these prelims. We've got Melbourne versus Port Adelaide. Now, a little friend of mine, Caden McDonald, he's a Melbourne fan if you didn't already bloody know. And he says, out of all the top 8 teams, he would take Port Adelaide any day of the week. They just have the Kosh over Port Adelaide. They always have for whatever reason. It's at the MCG. I don't see Melbourne letting this one slip. The D's biggest weakness is also Port Adelaide's biggest weakness. Melbourne's forward line and Port Adelaide's defence. So I feel like that sort of cancels each other out. I reckon Melbourne's stoppages and that midfield's probably even now because Butters and Rosie are so good. Gosh, so bloody hard. But I think the Melbourne defence will be too hard to penetrate for Port Adelaide. I reckon Melbourne make it through to the granny. I'm going to go with that. Brisbane and Collingwood. Boy, oh boy. All right. This is tricky. Again, feel like this fixture at the Gabba is a really tough one for Collingwood. I don't really remember them having too much success at the Gabba in recent years. And as I said, Brisbane, they were that up-and-coming side, and then they were in the finals, and then they made prelims, and they're right there or thereabouts right now. 20 years on from 2003 where Brisbane and Collingwood were, going for those flags. It's now come full circle. It's Port Adelaide as well. They were in that mix around that time. Anyway, irrelevant. This will be a really tight game, I think. And Collingwood love a tight game. It could be them. They could win. Can Brisbane get their midfield right when it matters most? I think they can. Their forward line's so dangerous as well. They're pretty solid in defence. God, but Collingwood aren't in good enough form at the moment. They're not making it to the grand final in my predictions. So I'm going to go Brisbane. Brisbane play Melbourne in the 2023 AFL Grand Final. Now, here's the question on everyone's lips. Who is going to win said Grand Final between Melbourne and Brisbane? See, these are predictions. I actually think Collingwood or Carlton or those are the only other 2 that I could see making the grand final. And it's so harsh to kick Collingwood out. But look, these are my predictions. We're now at Melbourne versus Brisbane. Who is going to get the chocolates? When they played a month ago or so, that really tight game when I think Jake Melksham kicked the goal after the siren, Brisbane was so threatening for that entire game. Don't know how Melbourne pulled that out of their bums, but they did. Brisbane aren't the best MCG side, although they beat Melbourne last year in finals. Can they do it again? Do Melbourne have enough scoring power to get over the top of Brisbane? I reckon it could be Brisbane's time, though. I reckon I'm going to go Brisbane to win the flag this year. Brisbane Lions win the flag against Melbourne at the MCG. I could honestly see Melbourne winning it, though. I could see Collingwood winning it as well. Port Adelaide, not just yet, in my opinion. But there we go. There's my AFL finals predictions. I literally didn't even know who I was going to back until the end there. So there we go. Brisbane Lions, premiers, and they're, well due for sure. So there's some pretty questionable predictions. I want to see what you guys have to say in the comments down below. So get your predictions in there and let me know how you think this final series is going to go. I'll be back vlogging out content next year, so make sure you keep it locked to the Druzy channel. True Footy, Jesse's channel, I'm making videos on there from time to time as well. So make sure you head over there if you want some more AFL content from moi. I'll be back in Australia next year, so don't go anywhere. Druzy's Athlete Academy will sort you out this preseason with elite training programs. Message me on Instagram pre-season at druzy.athleteacademy for more information on that. And other than that, I suppose I'll see you in the next video. So until then, take care, you plonkers.